Welcome back to the Britt Mayer Show, and welcome to the greatest comeback story for America. What an exciting new era, and what an incredible piece of history that we all get to live through. I wanted to break down some of what happened on Tuesday just to kind of process it aloud with everyone and really just talk about what an incredible triumph moment this is for America. So let's get right into it. I wonder what you thought while you watched the results roll in. I know that we were all on the edge of our seats waiting for Pennsylvania to call. And then when that moment happened, when they finally called Pennsylvania for Trump and we knew that the election was locked at that point, were you nervous? Were you nervous that there was going to be a midnight switch like what happened last round? Or did you feel confident? I'll tell you what, going into this election, I put so much into informing good American people and really just trusting that there are still people who want to think through and debate policies and to really understand what's at stake for our country. And so I was all hands on deck for so long to get as much information out, not to force people into a party or force people for a vote, but really just to have an honest dialogue. And I am so thankful that my platforms, for the most part, were able to stay online through this election. I was really concerned because my journalism style and the way that I cover is not aligned with the mainstream narrative. And I would even say, just in terms of party lines, I don't really fit into a specific party. Obviously, I am very much conservative, but there's just always that big question mark when it comes to social media of whether I will stay online and my voice will be heard. So I am so thankful that for the most part, I was able to stay online. And to that effect, what a world of a difference would it have made if Elon Musk had not bought X? I think that we all can say that if Twitter was still owned as it was by the machine and machine players, then this election would have had an incredibly different turnout. So I am so thankful for the purchase of Twitter by Elon Musk to give us all a place where we could freely come and exchange ideas and debate and argue and fight and exchange good information. And just to be able to exchange information without limits. There was some information being passed around that wasn't good, but I am so pro just talk. If there are things that you disagree with, then the more speech, the better, instead of restricting speech. So just in general, I'm so thankful for what X has become, that it is a place where we can exchange ideas and thoughts and have some ideas and thoughts shot down and have ideas and thoughts fact checked, and but in the true sense of that word, where they can be fact checked by the community and not by outside sources. And I think it made an incredible difference to have that forum alive and well going into the 2024 election and going through the 2024 election. So many things would have gone so much differently if you really think about all the moments of this race and how much would have gone differently if Twitter was still owned as a machine apparatus, and if it wasn't the ecclesia where the people could come and freely talk and share questions and thoughts and to question the narrative that was being pushed by legacy media. And I'm thinking about Butler, Pennsylvania, or the second assassination would-be attempt at Mar-a-Lago or was it Mar-a-Lago? His golf course. Even going into all the funny little quirky things, the McDonald's and the Peanut the squirrel and the garbage truck comments. So many things would have gone differently if we didn't have a place where we could debate in real time and have healthy conversation and healthy discussion. And I followed a lot of those people who were on Team Kamala Harris. The guy from Star Wars is one of them. I followed him. I followed Mark Cuban. I followed AOC. I love hearing what the other side is talking about and what ideas they are really pummeling, and wanting to put through. I love that I can do that. And I can clearly hear their unfiltered positions. And then I can express my own. I can take what is out there. I can process it in real time, and then I can put my thoughts out there too. So thankful for X through this election cycle, and how I believe it truly was a huge factor in the outcome. I think it could have gone much differently without X being what it was. So thank you to Elon Musk for the preservation of free speech through X. So let's get into some of the other things. Let's talk about what election 2024 proved. We had two very different candidates vying for presidency. And, with the coup against Joe Biden and the replacement, the installation of Kamala Harris, and then this new remaking of who she was, we saw a dramatic dividing line between Donald Trump's MAGA position and then the position of Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, which really ends up being just a face of the machine, and just a very clear dividing line between the two. Now, obviously, the biggest policy run that Kamala Harris had to run on and to promise was abortion. That would be the one factor of this election that I am most disappointed by. I think that we have a lot of work to do. I was just on with Jesse Kelly, and he asked about the abortion outcome throughout all the states. We had many states putting on to codify the right to abortion in their state constitution. California has already done that. We had Florida moving to codify it in their constitution, and Florida's failed, but many other states passed some version of an abortion right into their constitutions, including Arizona. Now, what we have learned, if you've spent any time in politics like I have, once a bill passes or an amendment is made to a state constitution, it is very, very hard to undo it. The time to stop and fight for anything that's trying to be turned into law or an amendment is at that point when it's trying to be passed. But to try to do it after is virtually impossible. And we've seen that so many times in California and with other states. So the fact that Arizona has now codified the right to abortion in their state constitution makes Arizona essentially an eternal abortion state. It will be extremely difficult to get that removed at any point from the Arizona Constitution. So that would be the one victory that I would say that the machine had, that they were able to sell abortion to many, many states who embraced it and ran it and had it passed into an amendment in their constitution. So that would be a great loss that we witnessed this election cycle. But let's talk about some of the victories. So as I was saying, we had two very different candidates. What the election 2024 proved is that America is sick and tired of a lot of progressive policies, that we have seen a resounding sea of red, from sea to shining sea across this nation, of people fed up with the policies that are progressive, but have undone so much of the safety, the security, the prosperity, the goodness of our nation, and have affected the average American who doesn't care about they, them, furry policies, that actually wants to be able to go to a grocery store and buy a dozen eggs and not be in complete sticker shock by the bill when you get through the register. So what we noticed, and I think it's a clarion call through this election cycle, is that these progressive policies that have been pushed by the machine, they aren't wanted. The average American person is tired of progressive policies. We overall sent a very clear mandate to Donald Trump on November 5th. And that mandate was to undo so many of the awful policies set into motion by the machine. And that would be Joe Biden, Obama, and to restore America to the goodness and the life-giving nature of what America was always intended to be, with limited government, with hands off of our kids, with hands off of poisoning our food, stop poisoning our food, to make America safe again, to close up our border, to the promise of mass deportations was accepted and embraced by the majority of Americans. We now know that Trump's final numbers from the Electoral College are 312. That's huge. You need 270 to win. If you look at the map of the final outcome of election 2024, it is red states. It's red everywhere. You have these tiny little pockets of blue, tiny little cities of blue. But overall, it is a sea of red. And that sends a very clear mandate to Donald Trump to honor what he promised to the American people. So I wrote this. This is what 2024 was a resounding rejection of. Election 2024 was a resounding rejection of hypersexualizing our kids, of mismanaging our wealth to record inflation and insane national debt, of mockery of traditional Christian values. It was a rejection of the delusional gender ideology cult that tricks kids into life-altering surgeries and drugs, of emasculating men, of absurd taxes for pet projects that government has no business spending our money on. It was a rejection of big government, of limitless abortion, of DEI over merit, of bringing in millions of illegal foreigners through a border that is objectively unstable and unfortified. It was a rejection of infringing on free speech, of infringing on our Second Amendment, infringing on religious freedom. It was a rejection of a reckless war machine, of subversion of our republic by coronating the machine's chosen candidate against the process of democracy. That is what election 2024 showed us the American people reject, by and large, loud and clear. Are you paying attention? This is why we are calling it the Great American Comeback, because it's not a sea of purple or so close. It is an overwhelming mandate by the American people to stay out of the things that the government has no business meddling in. All those things I just listed, the American people have said, enough, we are fed up, we don't want you doing all this anymore, and this is what we want. It was election 2024 was resounding proof of what the American people actually want. America great, healthy, safe, and prosperous again. Government limited again. Government of, by, and for the people. MAGA, Maha. It is really that simple. This is the Great American Comeback mandate. It's so simple. It's so non-complex. We really are, as an American people, making it crystal clear that we just want simple government. We want a simple, streamlined government that is efficient, that doesn't spend our money, and government never makes money. It takes our money and then spends it. That's what bloated government does. And what election 2024 showed us is the people don't want that anymore. They want Elon Musk to go in with DOGE and to get Ron Paul on board and to reimagine what America should look like if it's running efficiently in terms of its financials, that we don't want to be in trillions of dollars of debt that's unsustainable so that we can pay for foreign proxy wars and pay for gender reassignment surgeries at our border. No, we don't want that anymore. We want to make our money, earn our money, have limitless prosperity opportunities, and then put money into our reserves that money backed by gold that we can then pass on to our children. It's simple. We want the government out of our pocketbooks. Simple. That's what we want. And the fact that we don't have to try to convince anyone of this anymore, because America has spoken and said in unison, yes, that's what we want. We want an efficient, effective government that stays in their lane and lets us work hard, earn our money well, an honest system that doesn't spend exorbitant amounts and then tax us to smithereens. That's what we want. It's really simple. And I would go a step further to say, I think there's a lot of hope from intelligent thinkers who have thought through the financial institutions and machines of America and are excited about the opportunity for good free thinkers like Ron Paul, like Elon Musk, like Donald Trump to come on and maybe look into the Federal Reserve, maybe look into the central banking system that we sit in. I hope that we would see the Fed completely abolished. It's not as scary as you think. And it would actually set us on such an incredible course correct for this country that we have been sitting under since 1913, when the Fed came in and pushed us all into fiat currency. If we can get back to gold standard, and we can get back to when an honest dollar was an honest dollar that was backed by honest gold, do you know what a comeback that would be for us and for our children? And we have the opportunity now because we don't have the machine sitting in the president's seat. We have Donald Trump and his team, his incredibly diverse, interesting, fascinating team now taking the helm of the ship. Not only that, but we also won the Senate. It's looking like we're going to resecure the House. We have a candidate for the Speaker of the Senate who would be incredible. His name is Rick Scott. We have so much potential and opportunity because the Americans spoke loud and clear on November 5th and issued a very clear mandate. Government limited again. The people said, we don't want bloated government that has all these pet projects that we are forced to watch you spend our money on, or all these, we don't want government to grow beyond their constitutional limits, which we have seen government taking advantage of again and again. It just grows and grows. It's like this malignant cancer. And the people of America on November 5th said, we vote for limited government. We mandate limited government again. And Kamala Harris, the machine, isn't offering that. So we vote Donald Trump and Team MAGA MAHA. That's incredible. Again, we're on a precipice of realigning America to what America was designed to look and feel like. Limited government is essential when it comes to the overall landscape of America. We cannot have big government. It doesn't work. You know what big government is? Big government is Joe Biden's presidency. That's what big government is. Big government is where it gets too big and it comes at you and it kills squirrels in New York, orphaned pet squirrels. That's what big government looks like. And that's why the whole peanut hysteria was justified, because the people of America don't want Big Brother coming in New York, knocking on your door, making you sit outside for hours, escorting you to your own bathroom so that they can take an orphaned pet squirrel and raccoon and euthanize them. The people don't want it anymore. The people have said, we don't like this. It's not working. Feels a little communist. Feels a little bit not like America. And the people spoke loudly and clearly against big government machines. Government of, by, and for the people. Donald Trump is not a part of the machine. He has always been the outsider. When he came down the escalator and people laughed, because how's a guy who runs The Apprentice and builds buildings going to be president of the United States? Same laughter when JD Vance was picked as the vice president. Some guy from a rural flyover state with a past that most people wouldn't be able to get beyond, the vice president. What those two men are proving is that America was always designed for that. America was designed for the American dream, for the dreamers, for the men and women who reach beyond their means to be greater than their past and greater than their heritage, to always seek new great levels of success. That's what America was designed for. And not only that, but America was designed not for people to reach new levels of success so they can milk the system and stay in office for years and years and years, like Pelosi coming back into office out here in California. America was designed for people to serve as servants. They are elected servants with mandates to carry out. We are the citizen kings and queens by the Constitution. And that's what the government was designed for. It was designed to be government of the people, by the people, for the people, not a government of monarchs and tyrants like we have out here in California. And we'll get into that in a second. The people spoke loudly and clearly on November 5th and said, we want government that looks like us, that sounds like us, that drinks a beer like us, who does funny stunts that actually connect with us, like going to McDonald's and connecting with us on that level, or sitting in a garbage truck. I mean, what a wild ride, this whole campaign. It was brilliant. It was a brilliant, brilliant campaign. But the feature that made it so special was how it felt like they were one of us. That when I saw Vivek hanging off of a trash can and trying to figure out the apparatus of the garbage truck, trying to figure out the apparatus and the mechanisms of the garbage truck and how to get the garbage can to go up and over. I felt it. He wasn't proving that he knows how to do everything and that he's an established machine that can do it all. No, he's one of us. He acted and behaved the way any of us would if we were hanging off of a garbage truck. To see JD Vance, after one of so many rallies, and it may have been Michigan, don't quote me on it, but to see him pouring beer at a bar for the guys that were there, that's relatable. We relate and we think he's one of us. He's not this untouchable member of an ultra special class that you can never aspire to become because they're so high above you. He's one of us. He's one of us. And even Donald Trump, a billionaire with crazy hair and a funny cadence and amazing punchlines, he still made us feel like he's one of us. When he went to McDonald's and was working the drive-thru, it was such a connection to so many people who, for the first time, got to see him not as the target of lawfare and not as this politician who this guy who's become a politician and a part of a history book, but they saw him as a person. When he served at McDonald's, they saw him as a normal guy, just a normal American guy. And the American people on November 5th said, we want that. We want that. We don't want a machine whose only thing that they can offer us is like the creepy, sick pervert in a white van holding out lollipops and saying, abortion, we'll give you some abortion. That's what the machine offered. And the American people on November 5th said, that's not enough. It's not enough to convince us to vote for the machine in the white van at the park with a weird cackling laugh. We reject that. We reject that not only by states, but again, if you look at the map, it is a sea of red with tiny, tiny little pockets of blue. The mandate is crystal clear. We want America great again. We want America healthy again. Praise the Lord that Donald Trump brought RFKJ on. When I asked people, and you may have answered, when I asked people, what was the moment for you? If you were ever on the fence with Trump, what was it that convinced you and compelled you to get off that fence line and vote for Trump? And by and large, it was not the lawfare. It wasn't the mugshot. It wasn't the assassination attempt in Butler. It wasn't the second assassination attempt. It wasn't McDonald's. It was RFKJ joining this new creation of people who want America great and healthy again. And I'm so thankful that he has joined and will be a part of Donald Trump's legacy for the next 4 years. What an incredible gift to see this man who I personally have followed for 10 solid years, a decade, and watched very carefully. I didn't think that he was right for president of the United States. You know that. I was very clear I respect him. I think he's incredible. I didn't think he was right for the president, but I did from the get-go say if he could join in on Team Trump, it would be a landslide. He would take so many independents, and he would be the redemptive antidote for so many people who are still mad at Donald Trump about Operation Mach Speed. RFKJ is the antidote to that. And I think that even though you haven't heard Trump walk us through his feelings now about Operation Warp Speed, I do think that him bringing RFKJ on sends a very clear message that he is willing to do better when it comes to the health and the medical freedom of America. And America said, yes, we want that. We want MAHA with Make America Great Again. Safety was a huge issue this cycle. I was talking to Bill Malugin about how, and I think it was he that said when we were talking, that borders mattered so much in this election cycle. You know, you cannot write off how much of an issue the feeling of being unsafe in our country actually meant to Americans, that Americans looked at Lake and Riley. They looked at the criminals coming in by the loads. We have Ponga boats in San Diego. We were at a point where we were having 4 come in a week up the coastline of California. And those are the bad guys. The guys who jump off the Ponga boat and run into marked SUVs, those are the guys paying the cartel, the guys that can't just walk through the California border that anyone can walk through. These are the guys that know that if they do the walkthrough like everyone else in California, they're not going to make it because they have a rap sheet. It's the guys who have been kicked back to Mexico and now they're coming through. Well, our law and order here in California has been such a mess that we have let in enough to fill up. I think we are at 4 stadiums worth since October of illegal foreigners, 4 huge stadiums. Like I'm talking Petco Park stadiums. If you've been down there, that's a massive number of unvetted people from foreign countries roaming around in our nation because they don't stay in California. We've been exporting them left and right. We've actually been flying them on our dime to Texas and Florida. And the American people got to a point where they said, this is broken and this feels dangerous. And even those people who maybe saw Trump's original policies as being inhumane, and, you know, we had so many narratives going about the inhumanity of Trump's border policies, but then they lived through Biden's. And they said, you know what? It was actually far safer under Trump. And it actually made sense under Trump. Maybe what he was doing worked. Maybe having DNA testing done at the border when families enter. So you have 3 kids entering with 2 adults. Under Trump, it was immediate DNA testing with immediate results to determine if those children were related to the adults or if they were not related, why they were being trafficked over the border. And a large number of those kids were not related and had no business being with those adults. You know what that's called? That's called child trafficking. And Trump said, no, we're not going to allow that to continue into our country. We're not going to profit off of child trafficking into our nation. One of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's first reversals was that. One of their early reversals was the DNA testing at our border. And now we're at a point where you have 320,000 plus children who have crossed into our nation unaccounted for. We don't know where they are. Where are they? Where are the children? Where are 320,000 plus foreign children? Where did they go? Donald Trump has a plan to come in and do mass deportations and to secure our border again so that stops. So that the flow of fentanyl and the flow of child trafficking stops. And America said, yes, we want that. Make America safe again. The mandate is crystal clear. Americans want America to be America again. We want a place of opportunity for our children. We want a place where we can be prosperous again, where we can have more children because we aren't so drained financially that we don't think we can make it if we have more kids. That is a huge concern. You talk to people in California, young adults in California. If you ask young adults in California why they're waiting on kids, one of the number one answers that I hear consistently is it's too damn expensive. It costs too much money. It's too much. Donald Trump has promised to make America wealthy and prosperous again, and he's bringing on the right team to be able to do that. So we aren't stuck paying the bill of Uncle Sam's horribly overreaching pet projects, so that instead we can keep our money. And maybe we can abolish the Federal Reserve and get back to gold-backed, honest work and honest value that represents that. Americans want America prosperous again, safe again, great again. That is the clear mandate sent by America on November 5th. What an exciting time to be alive. This is the great comeback story, and we get to live to be a part of it, to remember it. I'd encourage you to, if you journal, write down just a few thoughts, maybe have a cup of coffee and write down just your thoughts. This would be such an amazing thing to pass on to your kids and your grandkids. You are living through history right now, big history, big American history that affects the world, that we're living through an incredibly opportune moment for America, and America has spoken. So be encouraged, be excited for this American comeback story. We are going to make America great again. We're going to make America safe again. We're going to make America powerful again and prosperous again. And this is only the beginning. We still have a lot of work to do. As conservatives, as traditionalists, there's always work to do, but be encouraged. And let's get to January. Let's get through the final finish line. Let's get through January, and then let's dig in. And let's be so intentional with this opportunity that we have before us, with the Senate, with the House, with the governorship that we have, and with Donald J. Trump back in office again.